What's up, guys? Welcome back to the EG Pot of Thunder with your boy, the young light-skinned Key Sweat, here with returning guest, the Natalia Perez. Hey, just get it. And we're here with Jonathan Bolano, the man behind the 8-person multi-million-dollar producing team. He deals and he specializes in residential and commercial properties. He is licensed in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you reached out through Natalia to want to come on the podcast. It means a lot, and I'm glad we had someone outreach and saw the podcast and reached to come on the pod.
Yeah, I know you guys are doing a great job over here, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for taking me on.
Oh no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. This is a little bit of a story behind the guest here. So Natalia actually works firsthand with Bolano. So you'll be hearing actually the real estate agent and the buyer on this podcast, which is a cool aspect to have because usually, just one or the other. Now we have the entire team here.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, so Natalia, so how did you even get linked up with Bolano? So what caught your attention? There's a million different real estate agents out there. So how do you think he stood out to you so you want to reach out to him in the first place?
A funny story. So it was actually my first house. I had another realtor, and I'm pulling out of my parking lot because they were doing showings. And I'm pulling out of my parking lot, and I see Bolano pull up to my driveway. I've known Bolano for a while, so we go way back. He went to high school with my cousin Sasha, so I've known him since I was like a kid, basically. So I seen him driving up my street, and I'm just like, is that Bolano? So I hit him up. I'm like, yo, is that you at my house? He's like, oh, this is your house? And he was like, yeah, I have a buyer that's interested. I was like, oh, okay. And so his buyer was actually the one that put the highest bid on my house.
Oh, so he was like, he was running up for you. He's like, it's my girl right here. Let's run up this price.
Yeah. And he was, but like he went in and he was just like, wow, like it was so nice. It's so beautiful. Like, how'd you do it? And I was just like, yeah,
I'm the
Are
shit.
you
gonna tell the next part to it?
No, I don't know what the next part is.
The next part is so we get our offer accepted. I don't know if Natalia knew it was my offer or not, but we get our offer accepted, and literally 10 minutes after
They pull out.
offer, my buyer decides that the house next door is too close, and they no longer want to do it. But yeah, that's kind of how we reconnected. Oh, there I am.
I was like, you are super low for some odd reason, but no, that's cool. That's cool. So wait, so your buyer pulled out, and then
She
ended up getting another buyer for it.
And then I ended up getting another buyer. I sold the house still.
It's beautiful.
So
But
just hearing like that, just
it was just like, to me, like it was like
destined.
not destined, obviously, because like we've closed like quite a few properties already together. Got a few deals with John, and John's just a shit at negotiating. So
Nice. So, but I just want to get back to real quick and like the real estate process, the buying process. So, how do you deal with someone like we're just jumping straight into it when someone puts an offer in and you're thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get this house, we're gonna get done, and then the person you're working with pulls out.
How did you feel, sir?
Yeah, how do you feel at that point? You're like, oh, like, is there something on you, or do you think you did something wrong, or what's like that process dealing with that?
So being in real estate, you work with people, and sometimes people just change their minds. So you can only do so much to be proactive. So with the way that I work, I like to get ahead of a lot of the issues that we would normally face when going through the transaction process, offers, etc. And for whatever reason, this one, I think the guy's wife loved it, and for whatever reason, he had this thing against houses that were, in his eyes, close to one another, which this house was not, but to him it was like that, and I guess his wife had made him feel pressured. He didn't actually think the offer was going to get accepted, and when it did, he was like, oh shit.
Do you think that happens often when people are just like out here just throwing bullshit offers and then they don't really mean it? Is that a common thing? Yeah,
it's unfortunately a very common thing. And I think that a big reason behind it is because people aren't being proactive and doing certain things that they need to do up front. My buyer consults take care of a lot of those issues and get people talking about all the things that they're looking for, then their needs versus wants, and what's important. But it puts like husband and wife partners in the same room, and I pretty much just call them out against one another, and I say, hey, what do you want? What do you want? Let's have this conversation now. Instead of doing it while we're out in the field, trying to get offers accepted, because it gets very convoluted at that point. There's so many emotions happening. Then you're trying to think of things. You got your kids running around in the background, or something else is happening, and you never have that moment to really sit down and put it all down on paper. So I take care of that then. And because of it, we normally have people out 1, 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then they're getting offers accepted.
Nice. So say that was her reasoning to reach out to you. So what's your process, so Natalia reaches out to you. So you're having that talk off the back, because I've dealt with other people like, in real estate where, hey, I'm interested in a house. And it's kind of pretty much just like, okay, well, let me know when you want to attend an open house. Are you just doing that? Or are you having those talks immediately so you're getting to know your buyer more, like personal?
So when we do that initial consult, we are really getting into the personality of the person and trying to understand who they are. So in this world, as we know, HGTV, and everybody's talking about being an investor. Even baby giraffes are investors all of a sudden. And so with that, people come into this with this false perception of what it actually means to do this. And so what I try to do is, when I first sit down with them, I'll have a conversation around not so much letting them know. So if you guys are watching this and ever do work with me, you understand my trick now. But I ask certain questions that are like qualifying questions to, are they ready to be an investor? Mm-hmm. Are they more residential? And just get past that entire thing right there. And depending on how they answer, I come out and I say, I don't think you're ready for this, because your mindset's too stuck on the emotional side of buying a house. Being an investor is all numbers based. There's nothing else, no other way to it. It's all numbers. The numbers tell you everything. And if you're not going to think that way, then you're not ready for this world, at least to be serious.
So when he's asking these questions, he kind of told you a little secret beforehand. So were you feeling like any type of way? You're like, am I too emotional? Am I just about numbers? What was your mindset going into your talks with Bolano?
Well, I think it was a little different for me and Bolano, because me and Bolano already know each other. And honestly, yeah, it went really different. I feel like we didn't really have that type of conversation, that consultation at all, because I just remember I was on Zillow one day, because that was just how I looked for properties. So I was on Zillow one day and I saw a property go up. It was up for 3 hours. I knew the location, I saw the numbers, and I just called Bolano. I said, get me in there right now, I'm buying it.
Yeah. Was that the one in North Providence?
That was the one in North Providence.
Yeah, put that
and he was like, are you sure you don't want to look at it? I'm like, no, I don't want to look at it. I'm going to buy it. He's like, no, you have to look at it. I was like, sure, we can look at it, but I'm buying it.
So, I mean, you're right here in person with each other. If you can hurt her feelings if you want. Do you recommend that, though, in the dealing process? How's your thoughts when she's saying that? You're like, okay, she's making a mistake. Did you even see it at that point? What's your thought process behind this?
So what I ended up doing is I just ended up having an honest conversation with her right there at that spot, because obviously at that point I knew that she had not done any investments really. She had worked on her home that she had lived in, but that's all her experience was. And so I just came out.
I had the other one, remember? I had the one in Pawtucket.
I wasn't in par with that. I didn't know about
he wasn't involved
yet.
in those.
Yeah.
So I had projects that I'd done, but
I didn't know about these at the time.
He wasn't involved in those projects.
I just asked her questions to say, are you sure you're ready for this type of risk? Because that's what ends up coming down to, and you don't know what's going to happen. And after having the conversation, I realized how freaking serious she was, and she doesn't back down to anything. She just takes on every challenge that she sees and just dominates it. And I seen that early on through our conversation, and so I was like, cool, let's get this done. And lo and behold, what did she do? She went in. She experienced a lot of issues, things that were not expected. But she called me.
Is that some of the stuff that you were warning her about, though?
Yeah.
It's now looking retrospect on that, you're like, damn, maybe I should have listened to his advice. Or do you have any regrets on that point? Or just all learning experiences?
No, it's all learning experiences. Part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, I ended up spending more than I expected, but it wasn't even that much more than what I expected. It was just because the way the inspection went by, we weren't able to get to one side of the building because of the tenants, and they had all of their items there. So it's not something that we could have even foreseen at all until everything was removed from the basement.
Yeah, the basement was hoarded completely and
hoarded.
They put all the stuff in a spot that had all termites.
Exactly, termite damage. So there was no way for me to even be able to see that through an inspection because everything was blocked.
So for Was that a flip or was that a regular house?
That was a flip.
So is flips, you're allowed to do inspections?
Yes.
Yes.
All properties.
Yeah,
all,
every property that
everything.
you look at.
That's intriguing. So yeah, so you had no regrets on that at all. You don't even wish you would have walked in at all or doing any type of research beforehand, like Bolano was saying, trying to warn you about.
No, because from my mindset, I had the research. I knew the location. I knew what it would resell for. I knew how much work I would have to put into it. I already had the numbers in my mind. So.
And she also puts in the contingency, like that error. So it's like maybe it's a 10% error. So if you are assuming that it's going to cost you $70,000 to do this work, you got to anticipate that there's going to be another $7,000 that you're off, and then just upgrade that to like another 10. So now it's $80,000. And so if there is that problem, like what she faced, there's that little bit of extra cash just sitting there to take care of those issues.
So what are the talks for anybody watching who wants to do a flip? So what's that process opposed to buying like a regular, one family, two family, three family home? How's that differ from wanting to do flips?
All right. So that the way that if you're trying to, we're looking at the person looking to do a flip.
Yeah. So like, how's that differ? Like, what's your conversation? How's that? Well,
so flips are quick. You want to be in and out of them within 3 to 6 months. 3 months minimum. And the reason why I say 3 is because most of the buyers out there are FHA, and you run into issues. Not to get too much detail, but you run into issues if you try to sell it before 3 months. So 3 to 6 months is when the time frame that you want to be done with that property. So you got to look at the ARV. ARV is the after repair value of the property. Deduct what you're paying on the property, how much you want to make off of it, how much you think the work is, and see what those numbers look like, amongst other things like interest and holding costs. And you have to discuss those. I mean, you as the investor need to know these things up front in order to make sure that these deals are working properly for you. And everybody's numbers are a little bit different because some people are contractors already. Some people have family that can do things. Some people have to hire people out to do it, so it'll cost more.
So, I mean, you're saying a lot of terminology people may not know. So if you want to break down, like, we have a whole other maybe 50 minutes in this podcast, so we can go into the details of it. So I'm not sure if Natalia or anybody watching this is, they want to do flips. Everybody wants to do flips. Like you said, everybody wants to be an HGTV. Everybody wants to be the next real estate guru. So, but a lot of people probably don't know any of those terms you're saying. So is your team helping them out? Or is that just on Natalia do her research? You come to it if you know what you're doing. How's that come about when you're having that conversation?
So we give them a lot of the tools to get started with this stuff. We show them websites and give them information so that way they can start researching and doing this stuff on their own. But at the same time, our whole premise is to educate our clients and make sure that they're the most knowledgeable people out there in the market. And what that does is it lowers your chances at getting buyer remorse. So after they purchase a property, it's like, oh crap, I can't believe that they talked me into this, because I never want to have that kind of reputation. So we do a lot of the education stuff up front. We go over all the numbers. We go over all their questions. Everything's based on their questions. They take care of 80% of the conversation, and then we're just there listening, trying to understand what are they really saying to us. So that way the conversation's more beneficial to them.
Gotcha. Yeah, so did you know going into this process anything, or you're learning on the fly?
I already had experience beforehand.
It wasn't even that first one. That's before Bolano, but when you're going that one.
Oh, the first one?
Yeah.
Well, my first one was different because when I first purchased my house, it was for myself. So I went through like the first time home buyer process. So with the first time home buyer process, I was also able to get down payment for the down payment from
0% financing from Rhode Island Housing.
From Rhode Island Housing, yeah. I got that help. So basically, I only had to put maybe $3,000 of my own money down on the house.
Closing costs.
For the closing costs, and I just bought that house for myself, and I knew it needed work, and I was just fixing it little by little.
Yeah.
So while fixing it little by little is where I was able to get how much it would cost for material, how much it would cost for labor. And that was my learning process, because I owned the home for about 3 years. And then I sold the house. And then with that profit, with the capital gains that I got from there, that's how I started getting into flipping.
Mm-hmm.
So I started small. I started first with a trailer. And then I started with subcontracting a single family house for my partner at the time. And that's how I continue to practice and learn numbers and like the cost of everything. So I already had it like some more experience like on my back before I got into the 2-family flip, which is the first deal that I had with Bolano.
Right.
So hearing that story, like her development into her real estate doings, what trajectory would you recommend? Do you have any recommendations for anybody coming in brand new? They don't know anything. What are your recommendations to, like, say I'm John off the street and hey, I want to get into real estate. People tell me it makes money. What do what's that conversation like with
As an investor?
As an investor,
Yeah.
What's your thought process? Like, what's your advice?
So the best thing to do first is find a good real estate agent, because the real estate agent's going to act almost like the quarterback to everything. They're the ones that know who to pass the ball off to for what you need. Especially the way that I run the Bolano team, we pretty much put together in packages for everything that you could need from the start all the way till long after you've purchased the home. So you're never left by yourself. So start there. Realtors are going to have access to great lenders and great attorneys, inspectors, contractors, etc. Because we're in the business. We're doing this every single day. We're circled around by these folks on a regular basis. So get connected with a good realtor that'll connect you with a great lender. As a first-time home buyer, you can leverage the Rhode Island Housing 0% down financing.
They still have that right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they do.
Isn't there a new one that just came out as well? They have like, I've seen like on the news, right? Isn't there a new like
yes,
promotion coming out, right?
yes, but my clients haven't been using these tools as of late, so I'm not the most privy to it right now. A lot of the folks that I've been working with have been doing the 3.5, 5% conventional, 10% conventional financing. So I'm not too privy to the Rhode Island Housing stuff outside of that 0%.
Gotcha, makes sense.
But you can use this Rhode Island Housing. If you want to be an investor, you go get a 3-family first, and then you start your stuff with that. And the realtor will walk you through what that process looks like. But a good lender will take care of a lot of that stuff for you as well. So the 0% down, what that means is that you're not putting any down payment on the property, which means that you don't have to put anything down with a loan. So normally you would have to put, let's say you're doing $100,000 loan, you have to put $10,000 down. That's that. But they're going to cover that for you. So the only thing left is this thing called closing costs. Closing costs pay for your attorney fees and other things that go with purchase of the home. But you can sometimes get the seller to pay for that. And so if you have those two items taken care of, you could technically be inside this house for $0.
Yeah, when I closed, I didn't pay. It was nuts.
Right.
Well, so is there like a timeline where that 0% is like gonna go away at some point? Like, should people act fast or don't know when the money runs out, it runs out?
Yeah, it when it comes, it comes. When it goes, it goes. And it's ever shifting.
So I'm not trying to put the pressure on people, but like if you're interested, you should probably get the process rolling at some point.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah. So you said 3-family first, and then go to like a 2, then a single, and then that process down, or can you go from a 3? Can you do a flip right after that? What would be your recommendation to someone that they bought 3-family, they like it, they see the kids kind of making money, and they kind of get hooked, kind of like Natalia did. Or what do you recommend after that 3-family? Are you recommending something else? Or
so it really comes down to who that buyer is and trying to figure out what's best for their particular situation, because we're fitting the process to the buyer, not the buyer to the process.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Do you feel like that's where other maybe agents may go wrong, where other teams may go wrong, where they're just kind of leading the person to whatever they're saying, and they're not really getting any guidance?
That happens from time to time, but we have a lot of great agents in Rhode Island that don't operate that way. Yeah, sometimes you'll get stuck into a position where you'll feel like you're getting pressured into a property. It's definitely happened, but if you ever feel that way, you can always just walk away and go to someone else, or just say something up front, like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this. But the best thing to do as a first-time buyer, whether you're an investor or just going to be purchasing for yourself, is knowledge. Read, surround yourself with people that have done it before, that understand it. Be careful for bad information, though, because that can actually set you 10 years behind on ever purchasing anything at all. I know a lot of parents like to warn people of like all the worrisome things, but again, if you have a good realtor, you have a good inspector, you have people that are there to have your back, you're going to be all set.
So do you have any examples of what would be like something that would set you back 10 years? Have you seen that firsthand? What examples do you have in those? Because I don't know really what you speak of on that aspect.
So it's sometimes parents will come in and they want to protect their kids, and they may have never been a homeowner, but they know of an aunt, uncle's baby's cousin that had a house one time and it flooded. and they come up with this elaborate story as to why you have to worry about flooding in a basement and why it's like the worst thing in the world. And then they do everything they can to find ways to make that house fit this flooding example that probably is a $1 in $1 million, like million chance of ever even happening. And we run into those things. It's just, they're these bad stories that, or what's the word I'm looking for? It's
just like an anomaly or
yeah,
never
that
gonna
that
happen,
just
like
they've barely ever happened. Like I've owned 4 properties in the last 4 or 5 years, and the things that went wrong on the property were all things I already knew were going to happen, and it really wasn't that big of a deal. All the way down to like an air conditioning whole entire system in a decent sized house that blew up. Well, it got clogged, but it's another story for another day.
So yeah, so you really just depends on what the person can afford. It depends on what their personality is. So you're not pushing things on people. That's what you're
No.
saying. So like you said earlier, though, there's a million different agents around, some really good ones. How do you, like, I guess you kind of already said it before, but like, what would be this is your IG clip, right? How do you differ yourself that opposed to other agents in Rhode Island? Like, why should they come to Bolano instead of other people?
Well, we're honest. We're not here to push you into anything. I don't play that game. I think it's a short game, and I'm in this for the long run. My entire business is built off of referrals, and you don't get referrals by screwing people over. So my idea is to take best care of everybody, give them as much information as possible, and allow them the opportunity to make decisions with good information. And really, the most important thing is at the beginning, just listening, just shutting up, asking the right questions, and letting the client just say what they need to say, so that way you can truly hear what they're trying to say and not that top level layer of what they're saying, and dig down into the details from there and just ask good questions like you're doing here. So
how did you? So that was the agent saying that. As the buyer and the investor, how did you feel comfortable, and what made you make the switch over from your previous one?
What do you mean? Sorry.
Like what like you said you had a previous agent beforehand. So what made you like feel comfortable? What was said that's different? Like what made you feel comfortable to make that switch over to Bolano and now do multiple different properties and do multiple different projects with him?
What made me do the switch was I just had a relationship already with Bolano, like beforehand. I didn't really like realize that he was a realtor at the time. So I just ended up going with a realtor that was a friend of a friend's. And she was great. I have no complaints about her. She did a great job. I just felt more comfortable with Bolano, and I just felt like he was very on top of everything, because like I said, that 2-bedroom, which was that 2 family, which was the first deal that we closed together. I literally, like I said, I saw it. It was on Zillow for 3 hours. I told him I want to see it. I was in that house the next day. And I would not have seen that with any realtor, because I've worked with more than one realtor before Bolano. I worked with the realtor who closed my first house, and I also worked with the realtor who helped me find my first house. And it wasn't that experience. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but for me, sure, it was more, it was like more like effortless, and I could trust him, and I feel like he was just on top of everything and had my best interest. So that's why I just continued the relationship with him. And he's my go-to realtor. Like I always say, like if I have any questions, or if people ask me like if they need a realtor, I will refer them to Bolano.
That's what's up. And how do you distinguish like navigating through the business relationship with friends? Do you have like a preference with someone you have a previous relationship with, or someone right off the street, John off the street? Because sometimes it can be maybe hard to make that business relationship with a friend. Sometimes people can't take you serious. Have you ever dealt that way? Do you have any like thoughts on that aspect of the business relationship with people?
So what I do is, and this is part of the process also, I sit them down right in the office and I have that heart-to-heart conversation. I come like this every single day. I just got out of would this be? It's 10 o'clock at night. I've been at it since 8 a.m. So, I mean, it's just, this is what I've done all day. But anyways, it's just bringing them into this place, letting them know just by sitting down with me for 5 minutes, you already know that it's all business when we're here. We're friends outside, but there's 2 worlds. And I set that boundary very quickly, that, listen, when we're in this field, this is the way it is. Like I'm the realtor. This is like you have to set boundaries with your folks, I guess you could say.
No, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from on that aspect. Have you ever had any issues dealing with that? Or,
No.
So
No.
friends and someone you don't know off the street, it's the same for both people.
No, everybody's been very respectful. I think that after sitting with me for a little while, people see where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to put out there. And I haven't had any issues to date, knock on wood, for anything. Like Natalia and I don't even think we butt heads at all. We're almost like BFFs.
Nice. Yeah, nice for sure. So, getting back in like we jumped straight into business.
Right.
People love hearing
All serious.
Yeah, all serious, and hearing like being like your own entrepreneur and owning your own business at this point, which is dope. I love that. I love supporting small local businesses. Well, I say small at this point, but local businesses doing their thing. Mm-hmm. I did not know you went to St. Ray's, first off. But so St. Ray's alum here, baby. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.
So what did you ever have those like? What was the thoughts when you were a kid? Like, did you always have that ambition? Like, I'm gonna own my own company at this point. What was like your, how'd you get to this point? Like, where was like your moment of like, damn, this is what I want to do and this is my life calling?
So hindsight's 2020, and growing up, I didn't realize that I had the inklings and these little things to me that screamed like you want to be an entrepreneur. And I kind of just went with what the family told me. It was like, go be an engineer, go be an engineer, go be an engineer.
So is that what your background is, in engineering?
I went to URI. I graduated with a computer engineering degree and a minor in math.
Oh, shit. I know engineering at URI is tough, too.
So I worked for the Navy, for Electric Boat first for 2 years, and then for the Navy for, I think, 5 or 7 years, working as an engineer, doing things on submarines.
Sorry, working on submarines. So
Yeah.
you went to URI first and then the Navy?
Yeah, I wasn't in the Navy, but I was a civilian employee for the Navy, for the federal government.
Gotcha. So you went to Saints. Did you do TD? I don't know, TD.
Yeah, I was a town development kid.
Oh, nice.
Of course.
Yeah, baby, let's get it. Did not know any of this beforehand. So what was like that? Like, so you were going to TD, to URI, just to please your parents, is what you're saying, or no?
Yeah. At the time, it was just because it was what I was told to do and what it was the right way to do and live life. And I was not going to make anything of myself if I didn't go to college.
And get an education.
And get an education that I paid $100,000 for.
Even with TD? That's nuts.
Well, I was there for 7 years.
Oh, shit.
I'm not a good student.
So you're from Pawtucket, or are you from Providence?
Pawtucket.
Pawtucket. So Pawtucket, you didn't go to Home and Shea, ended up going to St. Ray's. Was that like your parents thought, like, hey, I wanted to get you into a good Catholic school? At that point, definitely, too. Even when I was there.
Yeah, they were just doing their best.
Yeah.
They were just trying to figure it out, just like the rest of us are, even to this day, trying to do the best for their kid, because you got to remember the life that they grew up in was a whole different world than what we're growing up in. Yeah. And for them, that was the answer. That was the way to wealth. And this idea of entrepreneurship was like a shot in the dark. You can easily fail. They looked at it like our parents all look at it like going to California and trying to become a singer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like
100%.
Yeah.
It's common, like, especially with Hispanic parents, like, oh, no, we want you to be in the medical field, or it's like the biggest thing, it's like, oh, I want you in the medical field. Doctors don't go out of style, but it's like,
right.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, but
is that my passion?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's definitely my passion. Like, definitely wasn't my passion. School was tough for me. It's not tough. Like, I got good grades and shit like that. I just didn't care. Like, when I was at Saints, I did not care at all. I was about playing football, track.
Oh, you in football?
Yeah, football. Yeah, going on my boys' party, living life. Honestly, like, URI didn't even go onto my radar until like senior year. I'm like, you guys, like, I guess I'll do it. Like,
yeah.
Especially with TD, it's like, oh, why not? It's gonna be like free at this point.
That was the only place I applied.
Yeah, well, no, I
URI.
applied other places, but when I was accepted by the TD program, I was like, well, they're gonna pay for half my tuition. If I go to Florida, I'm gonna be in hella debt. So I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go here. Shout out TD.
That's exactly. I applied to JU in Miami. I'm like, if I'm gonna go somewhere, I might as well go to Florida.
Yeah.
Got the congratulations, like the acceptance letter from URI, and I'm like, all day.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
all day. It's not even a question in my mind.
Yeah, I applied to a few other places, but when I got that acceptance letter from TD, I was just like, my parents ain't paying my bills, so.
So, yeah. So like what? So your middle school, high school is kind of just the typical. You're going to school, you just party, having a good time with your friends. You had no mindset, like ambition, aspirations to do anything. You had no plan at that point.
No, I actually had zero ambition for a little bit of time after college. And it wasn't until I had my first son, my oldest, where my life kind of triggered. And that's where I went from working at CVS at their call center to getting into electric boat. That path took me into the Navy, which then led me through a few relationships. And my last relationship led me into real estate. And it was just supposed to be vacation money. But then I realized how much I loved it, and I grew very passionate very quickly. And it became almost like a little obsession.
Nice. So definitely get to that point. But the engineering, why did you choose engineering? Just because like your parents like
I like math.
hovering your head over your head, and you're just like,
I'm good at math. That's really what it was. I was like, the starting point was I was good at math and I liked typing. It was a very naive mindset. And then also
you're like, engineering, fuck it, let's get it. Math and typing, let's get it.
Well, I also wanted to get into IT. So because I wanted to be able to interlink servers, routers, and all that other jazz together. Too. And when I got into my junior year of college, I'm like, we haven't touched a server yet. Like, at what point do we learn these things? I'm over here programming these green boards with these little chips, but I don't see how this correlates to servers and big
cloud and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's where I realized you screwed up, John. So I just finished it off. I got it done. I got the degree. C's get degrees, and I got out.
D's get degrees as well.
Yes.
D's get degrees as well. But so looking back on all that, do you think that made you to the person who you are? Do you have any regrets? Like, do you wish you could change like trajectory, started earlier?
So if it wasn't for that, so I'm also like called ADHD and all that jazz. But if it wasn't for going to college, going through the lessons that I did, I started up an organization when I was at college called Exposure.
That was you? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So I started that. And running the events, running that organization, we had 75 people all 3 years that I was doing it. That all led me into becoming the guy that I am today. It pushed me to meet people that actually look into the ADHD thing. I got prescribed Adderall for a year. While I was on Adderall, I hated it. And so I taught myself how to cope with being ADHD, which is basically just organize the crap out of my life. I have to-do notes and a calendar that I showed you guys earlier that's absolutely obnoxious.
Yeah.
And that's how I get through it every single day, because my brain's always like firing. So I can easily just pick up my phone, drop in a to-do thing, and then push it to the side and forget about it. So that way my mind can focus on the things that are actually important. And then when the end of the day came, I would just reorganize what did I accomplish, what did I not accomplish, and what was actually just crap. I don't really need this. So college ended up leading me through a lot of good lessons and a lot of growing up moments in order to get to this point where I can run a team the way I am today, because we're extremely organized, we're process oriented, we have systems in place for everything. There's systems for our systems. That way things are streamlined and our clients can just have an amazing experience.
That's what's up. Yeah. So you really appreciate what your parents did for you at that point, though.
Oh yeah, hell
Looking
yeah.
back in hindsight.
Yeah, even if what they did was wrong, they did it out of love, and they did it because they cared. And can we really be mad at them for that?
No, they did the
So
best
it's
they
like-
could with what they knew.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud of them for what they did and what they were able to accomplish. My father used to work 130 hours a week between 3 different jobs, put my mom through college. Then my mom got out of college, became a teacher over in Central Falls. My father still worked crazy hours. And so, they were just grinding, hustling, just like we are here, trying to make it work and do what's right for their family.
So, would you look up to them? Would you say like they're your motivation, like your heroes? Do you have, would they be one, like two of multiple, or who do you have like, who's like your aspirations like growing up, or like your idols growing up?
So those are my parents. I mean, if it wasn't for their work ethic and me growing up seeing it all the time, I wouldn't be able to be here right now. I'd be in bed watching Netflix with a bag of popcorn on my belly.
Facts.
Wait until I fall asleep. So I mean, I think that they were the best role models a kid could have, I guess. Yeah.
Stuff. Yeah, no, it's definitely, a lot of people don't, think about that or give like their parents or whoever was like that person growing up flowers. But I'm sure if they listen to this, they'll appreciate that.
We all forget that our parents were just growing up too.
Yeah.
While they were raising us. And a lot of them didn't know what they were doing, and they were making mistakes. I'm a father of 3 right now. I make these mistakes nonstop, but I do it with nothing but love for my kids every damn day. I'm I'm not perfect. I do stupid things. I say stupid things. Sometimes my oldest calls me out. He's like, Dad, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, go to your room while I think about this.
In fact, yeah, you probably have like your parents in the back of your head. You're like, damn, now that's how I felt. That's how you felt when I was into you. Now it's coming back full circle to me.
Seriously.
Shit. Yeah, no, for sure. So, I don't even think did I ever asked you that before? If not, we'll retell it again. Who would you say your idols were growing up?
You don't have to say my name. It's okay.
Yeah, you can leave him out for this one.
I'd also say my parents. My mom, she was actually one of the first people to graduate college. She is a go-getter. She takes care of her family, her mom, her dad, her sisters. And I just saw her always grinding. Like, there's not a day that I ever saw my mom not working. My mom also went to school. So she was always grinding. And then my dad also, he, at first, like when I was born, he stayed with me so my mom could work, took care of me. But he also went to school. He got his associates, and then he became a correctional officer. So I just saw their work ethic. And like Bolano also said, they very, very, very like hardworking, but also drilled in that that education side. They really wanted me to have an education because from where they were from and how they grew up in Colombia, that was the only way to get out of that. And I don't know if you know, my mom and your grandma, they grew up in like a small like pueblito in Colombia where there wasn't even like a hospital. And
What city was that?
Sucre.
Okay.
There wasn't even a hospital there. They would have to travel like hours just to get to a hospital. So there was times where they didn't even have like food to eat, you know. So just seeing like where they are now and where they like grew up in. And then also my dad too. I mean, he grew up in Colombia in the 80s, like the Escobar era, like,
Right.
you know. So I admire my parents very much. I know that they have always tried their best and to lead me in the right path. I also went to school. I also graduated from college. I went to URI. I got my bachelor's in science and health studies with a concentration in business administration. And I guess that field also kind of helped me because not only did I learn like about the health field, I also had a lot of like business courses. So it was a very I dabbled in like a whole lot of different things.
That's what entrepreneurs do.
Yeah, I mean, while I was in college, I was bartending, selling stuff. I always had it like in me, I guess, but I just never really like went out and tried to be an entrepreneur just because like
the aura around it, like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh, is that what you really want? I mean, even when I first started getting into real estate and like flipping and stuff like that, like my mom was like, when are you gonna get a real job? Because she didn't understand it. But now she sees it, now she supports it, and she's like, oh wow, like, you know.
I think they do it because they're afraid for us.
They're just they're just afraid that, you know,
it's gonna be a big fail.
A big fail. Like, what if this happens? What if that happens? And then my dad also, like, when I sold my first house, he was like super upset. He's like, why would you sell your first home? Like, da 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 da. So proud of you. Like, you're so independent. Like, you're one of the first people, like, at such a young age to own a house. Like, why would you do that?
At such a young age to own all the houses you now own.
And now I own all of these properties, and now he's like, I don't even care, yo. Like, she said she's going to go buy this. I don't even say nothing. I just stay shut because I come back and I look at it, and it's just something different. So, I mean, like, they're always super supportive. I know, like, they were scared for me, but, like, I'm their first kid, and I'm my mom's only kid. So, you know.
Yeah, they're scared. They want you to see you.
They want to see me succeed, and I'm trying to do that. Build wealth so that I can give back to them for everything that they've done for me.
For 100%.
Yeah.
That's where that comes full circle.
I think that's what our responsibility is to not to that whole give back idea, but to be successful and to do something with the opportunities that they provided us through all their hard work and their dedication and what they did in their life to get us to this.
I'd also have to say that my inspiration is also my grandfather, rest in peace, and my grandma, because they also had a big influence on me because my parents are such hard workers. There was times where, you know, they're the ones that were taking care of me and raising me, and instilling in me a lot of values. And my grandparents were also very hardworking people. My grandfather built houses in Colombia, so maybe that's where I get it from too. He had like a soap business. He was just an entrepreneur, always trying to find a way to provide for his family. And then my grandma, when they came out here, she worked at like every factory in CF. So yeah, just have a whole entire family of very hardworking people.
No, for sure. We have a cousin for everything.
Everything. We have doctors. We have
people in jewelry stores.
Jewelry store. Yeah.
Literally priests, preachers. I have literally everything.
Anything you could think of, like there's probably somebody in our family.
Yeah, your
like,
family's
you have
big.
financial advisors. You have like
Literally
even like extended family, like people that actually work like for the city of CF, like fire marshals and like public works and like.
I heard that too.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, what is that?
Probably my cousin fixing something. You know, my family's huge on both sides.
Yeah.
But when she said that her mom said get a real job, you said, so what's your thought process when you hear that, Bolano? When someone's like get a real job?
Getting away from the W-2 job was the most freeing experience I've ever experienced in my entire life.
Yeah, so come back full circle to that. You're talking about going away from the W-2. We left off, I cut you off before, engineering transition to now the Bolano team. So how did that process happen? And I guess they can go 1 to 2 with the transitioning from W-2 to yourself.
Yeah. So I actually doubled up for a number of years. I don't remember how many at this point, but I just quit the Navy 6 or 7-ish months ago. I want to say about 6. But I was doing both for about 4.5 years, maybe 5 years, where I would get out of work and I would go to showings, or I would go to meetings, or I would have meetings at my house. And then I would put the kids down or whatever, and then, I don't know, go and work till like 2, 3, 4 in the morning because I was doing my own marketing from Photoshop. I don't know. It was just like a nonstop thing where I would just work hours after hours after hours, and I would constantly get this thing said to me. This is a little off topic, but I would constantly be told, "Oh, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. You're doing too much. Like, when are you gonna take a break?" It's like, why don't you go take a break? You're tired. Like, I'm cool. Yeah. I'm chilling. I'm doing what I love right now, and there's an end goal. Like, I'm gonna get out of this in a few years. And nobody wanted to listen, but I had my heart set on it, and I knew what I wanted. And when it came time, I was just like, you know something, forget this job. And it worked out because it was all around the COVID stuff. So we had just gotten out of working from home for about 2 years. And then when they were about to have us start coming back, I thought about it, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. And I turned it down. I mean, there's another piece to it, but I can't put it on this podcast. But it has to do with my personal life. Where
yeah, no, so like, that's a big thing we talked about on the podcast before with Natalia. Like, if any person who's successful now, people are there for you and they celebrate your accomplishments now, but they weren't there when you're grinding, when you're hitting the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, when Kobe's putting up the shots, when, you know, Kanye's doing the stuff in the studio. No one's seeing that struggle. Mm-hmm. You know, like your aspect, Natalia's, mine. No one's seeing that. That's the grind. They're there, and you're like, oh, damn. They're going on trips a lot. Damn.
They're lucky.
Yeah. Oh, they must be so lucky.
They think we wake up like this.
I get it all the time. Oh, you just came back from Miami? Wow. You're lucky. It's like, yeah, I'm lucky. Yeah. Took me fucking mad long to get to this point. I'm just enjoying myself and have a budget that I follow. Sorry, I'm lucky. Yeah. That shit, like, low-key pisses me off. People say that type of shit.
Yeah.
Just because,
there's no luck to it.
No, there's just hard work, like dedication. It just didn't fall on our lap.
We all have the same, like, every single one of us, every single one of you watching this, every single one of us sitting in this shit, we have the same exact opportunities crossing our path every single day. What we don't do is slow down and educate ourselves so that way we understand what those opportunities are that are crossing our path. We could all be in the same stocks right now. We could all be in crypto the same way right now. We could all be in real estate the same way right now. No matter where, we all came from tougher backgrounds. We didn't come from a bunch of money, and yet we're all sitting here doing it. So it's like, you have the opportunity. You just have to get off your soapbox and push yourself out there to grind out and do it. And is it going to be easy? Nah, it's going to be hard every damn day. Every day you got to wake up, you got to put your shoes on, you can put your clothes on, not in that order, and get out there and grind. So anyways, that's my little motivational moment.
You know, people, you know, the biggest thing for a lot of people is fear too. And overcome
Absolutely.
that fear of failing. Like your parents were trying to, they were scared for you failing. Never mind, themselves, and a lot
Never
of things.
mind them. How about me?
Exactly. A lot of people have that fear
You're
for
scared.
themselves.
Oh,
So
I'm
like,
fucking terrified.
100%.
Yeah.
People are like, "Oh,
It's
how did you do
terrified for
this? Yeah. How'd you open up your own business? How are you doing this, bro? You're gonna be scared. You're always gonna be nervous.
Yeah.
Always. You just gotta say fuck it. Just go for it.
I feel like it doesn't get easier either.
Yeah, I just faced it again today. I had to make a decision on whether or not to bring a new program into the team or not, and said, "Screw it, let's do it." So I mean, it's a constant thing you're gonna keep facing. You just gotta be able to analyze the situation, determine what's the right answer, and just close your eyes and go. Analyze first, close your eyes, make that leap, and then make it happen.
100%. Like I love seeing I'm reading Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban said that he has more failures even to this day than he does successes.
All day.
He's like, I'm always failing. He doesn't give a shit.
No.
But you'll never know you'll never have these successful businesses unless you had the failures that came with it.
See, we're taught through school that failure is garbage, and if you fail, then it makes you less of a person because you're getting Fs, you're getting Ds, you're getting Cs. But in reality, all that's BS. It's because when you get into entrepreneurial world, our failures create those lessons that create that wealth, that create those wins, because you keep doing this small analytical failures, and then eventually they build up to something positive, and boom, you just make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. So you said you have 3 children. So if they came up to you and were like, "Hey, Dad, you know what? The college route isn't for me." What's their mindset on that then?
It's really up to them. They get to choose what they want to do. My goal as a father is to educate them myself on life, on what it means to be a man, what it means to be a worker, what it means to be in all these different fields. So I want them to understand finance. People that have money, they talk about financial things at the dinner table. I want to bring that to it. The way I was raised wasn't like that, but that's what I want my kids to have. Sales, marketing, interpersonal relationships, psychology, philosophy, everything on the table I want to make sure that they're into, so when they get older they can make the decision. If they want to go be an artist, go for it, man. Just be the best at what you do. Like we hear on YouTube all the time, whatever you do, put 100% into it, otherwise don't do it. Follow your passion, do it 100%, and you're going to be fine.
Yeah, no, for sure. You definitely have to be passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah,
for sure.
But that's my thing with my kids.
Yeah,
I love that.
no, for sure. Yeah. So speaking of passions, so I did not know you were the man behind Exposure. So how did that even come about? Because that's still running to this date.
Yes,
I
sir.
know a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people are into it. So that's an accomplishment in itself. That could be on your LinkedIn, because it's a big part of your right now. It's a big part of the culture for the dancers, expanded culture at URI. It's it's kind of like the frat for like Spanish people at URI at this point.
It wasn't meant to be.
Also, yeah. So what was your motivation? Like the
All right.
mindset
So
behind it?
one thing I've always admired in life and in people is diversity and the power behind it. I always thought that bringing people together and bringing people with different minds and different backgrounds into one room created just a lot of beautiful things. And so when I was at URI, I joined a few different programs, and one of them was LASA. Shout out to LASA, you guys are awesome. But at that time, LASA was just doing like a lot of hip hop parties and such. And I felt like they weren't doing anything to bring knowledge to the Latin culture. And so I started bringing some of my ideas. It was combated towards. And so I was just like, something, I'm done. I'm going to go somewhere else. So I left, and I went and was talking to my sister's ex at the time. And we realized that bringing a group that would do something that's more multicultural would be a nice thing. So I don't know how it came to fruition, but I just ran with it one day and said, we started with this group called El Sol Sensual. It was a Latin dance group that was part of LASA at first. And then for whatever reason, when that whole relationship broke down, the next year I came out and I said, something, I'm going to do Exposure. And we're going to do Latin, Cape Verdean, hip hop, belly dancing, African music or African style dance. What else was there? We had everything when I was there. But the idea was to bring all these different people from all these different walks of life into this one room. And if there's one thing that we all have common between us, is this our heartbeat. Doesn't matter your blood, whatever. Like there's all those other differences, but we all have that heartbeat. The same thing in music. We all have that music that interlinks us with one another. And I felt like that was a great way to bring people together. Because at the same time, at that time, there was a lot of crap going on with racism, and some kid had just died. I can't remember his name. But
At URI?
No, in another state. But I wanted to bring everybody together.
They're doing Florida.
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
Trayvon Martin, right?
No, it was before that.
I'm not sure then. Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was just a lot happening, and I wanted to bring light to a very dark time. Fraternities, which were primarily white at the time, the organizations, which were primarily cultural, they would never intermingle with each other. And so my goal with exposure was to bring all that together, which is where I brought up the Bing Bang. So I was walking around one night with Sulianette Sanchez, rest in peace. She passed away shortly after a lot of this all happened, but she's a big reason why exposure even exists too. So I mean, big shout out to her. But we were walking around what's called Dance Till Dawn. It was an EDM dance party, and we were like, why don't we have this? Like, why don't we not, as cultures, like have this ability to do this 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And that's where the beginning of exposure started. She helped me put that together. I mean, Big Bang started. She helped me put that together. We had a room for hip hop music, Latin music, Cape Verdean, with rock bands, and we had EDM DJs like from 10 p.m. till 6 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nuts. We brought 850 people.
Wow.
Claudia, now Ramirez, she was a big part of that as well. She's also a realtor, and she works with me on this group called NAREP, which is the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and she works on the marketing committee with me. I'm the marketing director there, but she's from Exposure. She used to help me bring all these people together, and she ran a lot of these events by herself like that with all 75 other people that were on the organization.
That's amazing.
That's fire, bro.
Yeah, man.
I had no idea that you were behind that. So how do you feel? Like, what's like your mindset now that it's still running up and going? So like, how do you
I'm
feel?
proud of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you got to let go of control in life, right? Like you got to let people be people. And my whole goal was culture and to have all the different cultures represented to the best of our ability, like no matter what was on the team. But new generations take over. You got to let them do their thing and figure out their own way. And they've chosen to go about it their own way. And it's beautiful for what it is.
You know, for sure, man. That's cool. Like, you have that everlasting like legacy at your arrive.
Yeah.
Who might not even
I have
know.
random people stop me.
What you say?
I have random people stop me sometimes. They're like, aren't you that guy from that group? I'm like,
oh, really?
What group? Like Exposure. I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that.
Thank God. You're talking about another one. You should have a statue outside of URI, outside the libraries. Bolano's going to be up there.
I don't know about that.
Just
and
dancing.
then dancing, literally just like with the girl, like salsa.
You and that girl.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I'm also a dancer, so
Yeah.
It's
also
Bolano.
That's
like
why I was
Zumba.
dancing in my chair earlier, like a weirdo.
It's a shout out to Bolano. I see my party those. I'm just dancing. I'm like, yo, this guy must have the craziest like workouts of all time. Just sweating, just dancing for 3 hours in a row. He has not taken.
I'm not doing that anymore. I go to some of these places now and like 2-3 songs, and I'm like,
I'm done.
My inhaler, quick.
Don't let him play you though. He be looking like it's not a sweat. He be like
Oh,
breaking it down. I'm like, okay, bro.
I'm telling you, from I was at parties 2 hours. I'm like, God damn, this guy's getting tired. Shit, I'm tired of looking at him. So he's just older age at that point. You know, it's not for me no more.
no, it's just life, just being a dad, having all the other things going on. It's a lot of stress.
For
So
sure.
it's just trying to cope with it, trying to get sleep, trying to find that balance. And it's hard after you have kids, and when you love your kids and like really want to be there for them and do right by them, you wake up and I don't know, you just think like, am I going to go do this or am I going to go do that? And my health usually ends up going second, which it shouldn't, but that's a story for another day as well.
But don't let him fool you though. If there's a night out, you're gonna go out and dance though.
Yeah, I'll tear up the floor a little bit.
Oh, you'll tear it up, baby. Let's get it. Yeah. So you know, we've been going for about an hour now.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah. Time flies by when you're having a good time. So do you have any lasting words for closing words you want to say to anybody who's thinking about reaching out to Bolano along these lines?
Oh, you should definitely reach out to Bolano. He will definitely lead you in the right direction, and he'll help you figure out your next steps.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You know, for sure. Do you have any advice to those new buyers? Anything you want to say to those who are thinking about, you know, making that leap into real estate?
Yeah, just be patient. Don't be afraid of walking away from something you don't feel comfortable with. That goes for both people and situations. And just educate yourself. I don't care if you feel like you're the smartest or not smartest person in the world. I am not the brightest from the way I came up, but I read a lot now. I research a lot, and it's why I'm able to offer the information that I have and help people in the right direction. So I also, outside of real estate, I've been helping mentor small businesses into starting up into something else. There was one person, they went from $20,000 one year, $100,000 the second year, $400,000 their third year. So I enjoy doing that stuff as well. So if you're ever looking for help, you're looking for a mentor, My stuff's right underneath me. You can contact me. My contact card's at jonathanbolano.com. Easy to get my phone number, email, and all that other jazz, all my social media. And just to be easy, it's just Bolano Team for all my social media.
And baby, let's get it. Give him that follow. Bolano Team, like you said, jonathanbolano.com. Get that mentorship, get that leadership you need for the real estate game. He got you right here. Natalia is a first-hand witness. I don't know what you would call it. I guess a first-hand witness. I'm blanking out right now, but she is his client, and she loves it.
And good friend.
I'm a client and a good friend, and yeah, we're gonna continue to do closings. We've done 3 so far together. Four. Yes, 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't even know how quick she's moving. So, end of the podcast. Do you think sometimes your guys are moving so fast you don't give yourself a credit?
I don't worry about that. My credit, I'm a different soul when it comes to that.
I'll give myself credit when I'm where I want to be, and I am not there yet. So, yeah.
He's got to keep working.
When we get there, then we'll celebrate.
Then I'll be.
Colby said that too, right?
I'll be tooting my own horn.
Yeah.
Colby said that where he was. Some newscast person came up to him and just like, "Oh, why aren't you happy?" He's like, "Did we win the championship yet?"
Yeah, that was like the Western Conference Finals.
Yet. Right.
That was the Western Conference Finals. And they won.
We'll celebrate when we're done.
Yeah. And like you were saying earlier too, like I've been told for some people, you need to slow down. Like you need to I'm like, okay. I'm just like, okay.
You know, I gotta keep working.
Gotta keep going. I'm nowhere close to where I want to be at.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, look at Tom Brady. He's 45, coming back to win another ring.
He loves it.
Yeah, and that's what you think he needs to come back. He doesn't need to come back. He's already the greatest quarterback of all time, but it's his own personal goals that he wants to reach, and no one can tell him otherwise, and no one can tell you otherwise. No one can tell Natalia otherwise. It's what you want, what you love. What would we be doing instead of doing this right now, like you said?
Mm-hmm.
Watch Netflix right now. We're out here, we're grinding. You never know what might go viral, who we can inspire, and that's what I love to see. And so make sure you follow your boy, Bolano, JonathanBolano.com, Bolano Team, the Natalia Perez, the Monopoly View. Make sure you follow your boy, Explore F, on all social media. Run it up on YouTube, EG Pot of Thunder, TikTok, Instagram. Get it, baby. Send us to the moon. And we'll be back for a part 2 at some point. Get it, baby.